Joining us now is a Republican who comes to this debate with his always unique and outspoken point of view, Congressman Ron Paul of Texas. Congressman, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf.
When it comes to the president's economic policies, his tax policies, is there anything in there you like?
Well, I understand there will be some tax credits, and that means there'll be lower taxes for business people and encourage investment, although they're short-term, and we don't know what would happen after a couple of years. No, anything that'll cut taxes, I'm for. The fact that he'll be raising spending, but also because he doesn't plan to raise taxes on the lower-income people under $200,000 or $250,000. I think that's good. I mean, it'd be horrible if he did raise the taxes the first year on all those. So I'd have to say that is a little bit of relief to know that those taxes won't go up.
Because you're a deficit hawk. You hate this huge national debt, the annual budget deficits. The White House says if you if you eliminate the tax breaks for the wealthier Americans, those families making more than $250,000 a year, about 3%, 2 or 3% of all Americans out there, you're going to save $700 billion over the next 10 years, $700 billion. That would be good to have that a reduction in the national debt, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be, but that would be a horrible way of doing it. That means the taxes are going up $700 billion. You know, I could think of a much better thing to do, and that would be to read that article by Stiglitz this morning. He said he made an error last year when he did that report that he said the Iraq war was going to cost us over $3 trillion. He says it's going to be much higher than $3 trillion. Why don't we stay out of these wars and save this money? That's what we need to do. We need to cut the spending, and we don't have to tax people, and we could solve this problem, but nobody wants to give an inch on these overseas expenditures. The Republicans don't want to cut overseas expenditures in the war, neither does Obama. So, but the American people, the ones I talk to at least, are all for it. So I know that's where it should go. We should cut the spending overseas.
We had you on recently with Congressman Barney Frank. You guys have some ideas to save hundreds of billions of dollars in defense-related spending. We discussed that. The president also went after some Republicans for wanting to privatize Social Security. Listen to what he said.
Social Security, because as long as I'm president, no one is going to take the retirement savings of a generation of Americans and hand it over to Wall Street. Not on my watch.
You agree with the president on that?
Well, I have to know what he is thinking about on privatizing, what others think about privatizing.
He doesn't want to privatize it. He wants to keep it the way it is now.
Well, yeah, but I want to know what privatize means. If we could turn this money over and give the individual the money like a investment retirement fund that they manage, that's a little bit different. But I think most people, what they think about privatizing, and I'm not for this type of privatizing, that's when the government manages accounts and gets involved in the stock market. If that's what he's thinking about, I don't want any part of that. But I want to privatize the retirement funds and put the responsibility on the individual. That, to me, is a lot different type of privatization. But for government bureaucrats to get involved in the stock market, I don't like that. Besides, if you truly have privatization, you can make your own choices. But it's when the way we have it now, you only can buy government debt. That's really not a very good investment. But I think these are academic arguments because, you know, talking about 5 or 10 years from now, we're facing up such a serious crisis with our dollar and our financial situation. The next 2 or 3 years, this is going to be resolved because we're going to have a financial crisis based on a dollar devaluation. And that, to me, is going to change all the rules in the game. And talking about tax code for a year or two out won't have a whole lot of meaning.
Very quickly, because we got this new CNN Time magazine poll in on the race for the Senate in Kentucky. Your son, Rand Paul, is running right now. We have it as a dead heat among registered voters. Rand Paul, 46%. Jack Conway, the Attorney General there, 46%. Are you surprised by this poll, how close it is?
I think that's pure fiction. That's the biggest surprise of my life. If that happened, it happened within the last 12 hours. I think we better check that one out. But no, the race will be hard fought and hard won, and he'll run as if it's tied. But those aren't quite the accurate statistics that I've been hearing about.
Yeah, I've heard other polls that had your son way ahead. But this is among registered voters, CNN Time Opinion Research Corporation poll. We'll stay on top of this race and all the other races. Always good to have you in the Situation Room, Congressman. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf.